Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Today is explanation of upcoming episode Throne of Seal based on novel. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. So let's start. After returning to the priest temple, Han Qian and Ling Xiao were unable to pay more attention to Long Haochen because they were all busy with meetings. Long Haochen and Cai temporarily parted with Zhong Fangfang and returned to their private room on the first underground floor. Haochen, what is with you? Why do you look so uneasy? Kia gave a doubtful look to the pale-looking Long Haochen. Long Haochen replied in a grave voice, "It's Hao Yue, he's calling for me. I'm afraid that he's meeting some trouble with his evolution. Kia, I have to join him immediately. Bring me along then." Since the regulations of the illusory paradise could be broken, the world from where Hao Yue comes must definitely be the same. The only problem is that it hasn't been 6 hours yet since your last use of the tower. Long Haochen shook his head. There's no more need for 6 hours. He didn't have the time for more explanations and pulled Kia's hand, returning to the Tower of Eternity in a flash under the golden glint of the eternal melody. After his awakening as a god's chosen one, a certain change happened in the connection between Long Haochen and the eternal melody. There was no more need for a wait of 6 hours, and he faintly sensed that if he wanted to be transported only by himself, he would be able to return to the Tower of Eternity at any time. If he brought his comrades, although the gap of time needed would be longer, it would not be so long as 6 hours. Among his squad, Kia was actually the only one with full battle strength. Wang Yuan had some dazed feeling, thus Long Haochen believed she was wounded. For this reason, after returning to the Tower of Eternity, Long Haochen didn't plan on telling the others about the matter regarding Hao Yue, but wanted instead to bring them back to the priest temple directly as soon as he would be able to. Afterwards, a purple radiance lit up his whole body, and the blood contract between Long Haochen and Hao Yue released its might, immediately transporting him to another world. Long Haochen still clearly remembered about the danger Hao Yue had confronted the last time. At that time, Long Haochen had merely been a knight of the 4th step, whose strength was a far cry from one at the 6th step. That time was indeed very dangerous, but fortunately his luck had been good and he had managed to save Hao Yue in the very end. Long Haochen was now a knight of the 6th step, and after the battle in the eternal paradise, he awakened his physique as a god's chosen one, and his spiritual energy even increased marginally. It wasn't only that his internal spiritual energy had now reached 7,000 units, but his external spiritual energy also grew tremendously, reaching a level unknown to Long Haochen. However, he wasn't even close to his prior self, and thus felt extremely confident in being able to save Hao Yue. Now, he was looking forward to Hao Yue's evolved look. Just how much more powerful would he become after this evolution? During his last evolution, Hao Yue had grown a 3rd head, before eating a lot of magical crystals for a long amount of time. The specific quantity wasn't known to Long Haochen, but during every battle, Hao Yue was the one gaining the most profit in this regard. This was the reason why he had so fast entered the state of deep sleep entailing evolution once again. As his time with Hao Yue increased, Long Haochen felt all the more curious about Hao Yue's origin. At the time he had just appeared, he seemed to be just a weak-looking magical beast. But as time passed, the strength Hao Yue showed was growing greater and greater. But the most impressive feat was his ability to evolve. A mere 2 years later, this evolution would definitely let him break through the 6th step. This was an evolution speed Long Haochen had never even heard of before. At that moment, Hao Yue's entire body was clouded in dense purple light. His 3 heads were raised, but all his eyes were closed, as he kept chanting some incantation. One could feel that the surrounding muddy natural energies were rushing to Hao Yue's side, turning into dots of shimmering purple brilliances, entering Hao Yue's body after passing through that purple light that surrounded his body. Compared to before, the current Hao Yue was even taller, almost reaching 8 meters in length, and his whole body had become more robust. On his back, the 2 high peaks were even longer, both assuming a triangular shape. The greatest change was, however, on his head. The bulge on the left side of his 3 large heads was reaching the size of his other 3 heads, and the same went for the bulge on the right side. "My good brother, I came. Do your best to evolve, and leave the rest to me." Saying that, Long Haochen turned around to face the outside. This evolution of Hao Yue took place in a cave again, but he couldn't help but feel startled just by arriving at its entrance. The place Hao Yue chose to evolve was similar to the one from last time, once again halfway in a mountain showing traces of splitting. He should have been the one who made it. The sky was pitch black, and not even a single star could be seen. In the air were some rich clouds of darkness and fire element, while the traces of other elements were extremely heterogeneous and dispersed, not close to the former types in quantity. As far as the eye could see, the ground was covered in countless cracks. Some streams of magma could even be seen. In the end, it was just that kind of world. The deathly stillness aside, Long Houchen didn't feel any living presence. Spreading out his senses, he got the good news that at least for now, no enemy was closing in. After his awakening, Long Houchen could spread his senses in a large range even in a place so full of deathly stillness. After a short time of reflection, Long Houchen attempted to see whether he could meet up with his mates in the Tower of Eternity. A fantastic change occurred when he poured his spiritual energy into the eternal melody. Sensing that he could directly transport himself to the Tower of Eternity, he wasn't affected by the ties of time here anymore. But more importantly, he noticed to his surprise that he could actually sense the location of his comrades in the Tower of Eternity, and directly transport them here. The surprise this change caused him made his face beam with joy. Such a change would undoubtedly marginally increase their chances of survival. Furthermore, after the appearance of this change in the eternal melody, he didn't have to worry about the fact of summoning Kia to his side anymore. This was because after Hao Yue would complete his evolution, he could simply follow Hao Yue, but the comrades he would bring here would need to pass through the Tower of Eternity to return. Long Houchen's connection with the Tower of Eternity didn't require any cooldown time anymore, and based on his calculation, there would be only a need for half an hour of wait after bringing someone here, and this time could be accumulated. Right at that time, Long Houchen sensed something. Looking afar, he saw a large amount of the same black skeletons, which he previously had encountered, heading in his direction. Seeing that large army of skeletons, Long Houchen couldn't help but remember the words of that lick he had encountered. At that time, although he had felt very tense, he still had devoted all his body and mind to the protection of Hao Yue. But afterwards he had to participate in the rest of the competition, which didn't leave him the time to give those words more thought. However, given his astonishing memory, he now remembered those words he had been told at that time. Thinking of it, this scene appeared by itself in Long Houchen's mind. At that time, the Lick had said, "No, what you are protecting is the reincarnation of the devil, the creator of our dark and fiery world. His existence is precisely the reason why our world is like this. Our world is broken down and magma is flowing from the earth. Countless species became extinct all because of him. The strong have already escaped, the less fortunate all became undead, and now, only the undead can exist in this accursed world. I do not know how you came here, but your holy aura disgusts me and your actions anger me even more. I will give you one more chance to return to your world right now. Now that the devil, Austin Griffin, appeared in my territory, even if I am just a Lick, I must kill him. Otherwise, who knows what other miseries his restoration will bring to our world. A reincarnated Devil King. The evil maker of darkness and fire. And it would be because of Hao Yue that this world changed into this hell. Those black shapes, whose eyes were glinting with green flames, weren't those liches. Long Houchen counted a total of 12 liches, and as they approached, he found out that the skeletons underneath were different from the last time. During his last visit here, the skeletons he had encountered only had the size of ordinary humans, but their attack and defense had been very lacking. But this time, the skeletons were all close to 2 meters tall, and although they were as before all black, they were a lot more robust, and carried in their hands some sword-like weapons made of bone. Without a doubt, these strengthened skeletons were controlled by the dozen liches floating in the sky. As long as these liches were killed, the skeletons underneath were bound to cease being a threat. However, Long Houchen didn't move hastily. Retreating to the entrance of the cave, he let out a golden glint and Yating came out, floating in midair. Sensing the surrounding environment, Yating immediately pursed her lips. "Master, this place is really filthy. Arriving into such a hellish place soon after leaving the illusory paradise, it would be rather strange if she would be pleased." Long Houchen said in a grave tone, "This is the world where Hao Yue came from. He is in a crucial step of his evolution, so we'll have to protect him. Return to your strongest form, the battle is going to start soon." "Okay." A deep golden brilliance spread out from Yating's body, and with a golden glint, she returned back to her form as a girl, whose soft golden brilliance mixed with Long Houchen's, completing one another well. Immediately afterwards, they sensed a cozy and transparent feeling brought by this holy light. The skeletons were drawing closer and closer, while those 12 liches floated at a distance of 200 meters from the cave. Moss green flames pulsed in the eyes of the liches, who were chanting incantations without stopping. Black or grey brilliances sprayed out from the sky to the skeletons, and immediately, the skeletons visibly gained in speed, and even their aura became strengthened from that. In his left hand was the glorious holy shield, and in his right hand was bright discipline, as Long Houchen advanced slightly, creating some distance between the entrance of the cave and himself. As he shot a cold glance to the 12 liches, he made preparations for the battle. Finally, the first skeleton reached out, dashed at a great speed, and aimed its bone blade at Long Houchen's head. Having battled so many times against the skeletons during the trials in the Tower of Eternity, Long Houchen didn't feel any pressure from those black skeletons. After holding up bright discipline in his right hand in a blocking motion, he crashed the bone sword easily into fragments with a fast downward slash. A mysterious golden arc was then drawn on the chest of the skeleton, after which its body was smashed to pieces. This time, even more skeletons were approaching, heading toward the direction of Long Houchen. Sweeping his sword with a light thorn, he let out a golden radiance that spread out in a circular trajectory, over 10 meters in diameter. In the scope of that golden light, all the black skeletons were cut in two, and the holy light carrying a sacred breath instantly destroyed their soul fire. After completing his awakening as a God's chosen one, Long Houchen's originally internal spiritual energy of pure holy light element did not only gain even greater sacred effects, but also became even more compressed. It was the same for Lin Xin, who had obtained the spiritual stove of Heart of Flames. His light properties had gained a qualitative change, restraining all these undeads of darkness attribute. Last time he had to protect Hao Yue, he had just gone up from the 4th to the 5th step, but this time, he was already roughly in the 5th rank of the 6th step in strength. Further adding the gain from his awakening as a God's chosen one, he naturally felt no pressure facing these low-level undeads. Seeing Long Houchen let out a brilliant golden light, the moss-green flames in the eyes of the 12 liches standing afar became dimmer, visibly showing their unease. The pure light released a sacred aura that gave them a feeling of restless danger. Even Long Houchen himself was astonished to find out that the skeletons that kept climbing up didn't even dare approach further upon feeling the intense light essence in the air. A sharp cry came out from the liches, and the bone staff let out even more intense aura of death. Immediately, the skeletons in the front started to collapse, shattering into pieces before swiftly fusing with each other. This trick again. Last time, Long Houchen narrowly died because of it. This was the skeleton king assembled by the liches. And furthermore, it was this time the result from the joint work of 12 liches, using an even greater number of skeletons, and would produce an even more powerful result than before. Long Houchen was not as inexperienced as before. How would he let these liches do as they please, yating? Long Houchen growled, and immediately, a resplendent light was emitted from his back as his 4 immense wings spread out. With a flap, his body was already propelled toward those 12 liches. Long Houchen's spiritual wings were different from Yating's wings of light. Yating's wing of light had a transparent color that made them resemble to the wings of a butterfly, only making them all the more beautiful, but Long Houchen's spiritual wings looked close to the wings of a bird, equally comparable in terms of speed. Yating's incantations were already prepared. Flapping her 6 wings, she took over Long Houchen's position at the entrance of the cave, holding the staff high in her hand. During this time, an intense light element took shape in the air, transforming into a fist-sized glinting ball of light flying to the direction of the skeletons. Star 4. Although this place didn't have any light essence, Yating was not only evolved thrice, but also obtained the benefits from Long Houchen's awakening as a God's chosen one, and her fusion with the Saint's spiritual stove, and her current strength was already close to a mage at the peak of the 6th step. A spell that she was given so long to prepare was naturally not a simple spell of the 6th step, but a powerful spell of the 7th step. Yating's greatest strength resided in the fact that her body was originally fully made from light essence, thus she didn't need to worry about being in shortage of spiritual energy like the human mags. The only restriction was the limit in the intensity of use in her power, and unless her elemental energy was totally exhausted, she would always be able to keep using magic. Of course, if nothing was really left, this would just forecast Yating's death. Star 4 was a spell of the 7th step. And furthermore, it belonged to the type of light elemental magic exclusive to fairies, that humans weren't able to use. A wide expanse of bright stars smashed into the group of skeletons, and the most terrifying thing was that these bright stars had the length of an eye, aiming at the core parts in the body of the fusing skeleton king. The massive golden flashes of light blossomed in the midst of the wave of skeletons, and everywhere the golden light passed, the skeletons were turned into grey ashes. The parts of the skeletons that were fusing with each other also crumbled, not given any opportunity to complete their combination. At that time, Long Houchen arrived in front of the 12 liches. After his wings became 4, Long Houchen's flying speed shot up. Although he was not an expert in flight for now, due to lacking training, he was still able to achieve a great performance in a straight line. Due to that, these 12 liches only saw a flash of golden light as Long Houchen was already in front of them. Turning pale with fright, the 12 liches let out sharp cries almost simultaneously. This ability was specific to liches. Called hisses of terror, it had some similarity with the brain-addling magic used by human assassins, but was a lot stronger, because it depended on their soul energy to be accomplished. Long Houchen had suffered losses the first time he confronted liches. After the ocean of skeletons underneath lost the command from the liches, it took only a while for these endless waves of black skeleton to disappear. Long Houchen shook his head slightly. He appeared dissatisfied from this battle. This dissatisfaction lay in his unfamiliarity with his own abilities after this awakening. If he had predicted that these liches would be so easy to handle, he wouldn't have instructed Yating to use a powerful ability such as Starfall. Witnessing the entire annihilating of the skeletons underneath, he finally relaxed, flying back to that cavern. It was just that because of his excessive use of power during his flight, he staggered at the time of landing. It looks that I should train my ability of flight. Long Houchen shook his head with a helpless look. These words weren't without reason. Battles between powerhouses often happened in the air. This was because, in the air, one could avoid harming allies and destroy the earth. Even the savage demons were often unwilling to battle with humans on the ground. Yating giggled with a laugh. Master, humans like you cannot fly innately. It's natural that you are facing some difficulties to fly. Long Houchen gave her a strange look. After Yating was capable of human speech, he really felt a bit unwell. But the crucial point was that he didn't know how he could tell Kia about this new side of hers. Right at that time, a change suddenly occurred on Long Houchen's expression. A kind of ominous premonition suddenly surged, as if a massive danger was about to arrive. How could it be that right after killing the 12 liches and their army of skeletons, such a massive threat appeared so suddenly? What was it in the end? Yating's perception wasn't the least bit inferior to Long Houchen, let alone that she originally formed one with him. She naturally had some awareness of what appeared in Long Houchen's senses, and gave an astounded look afar. Master, a smell with a strong stench is approaching us. This enemy should be targeting our area. Long Houchen took a deep breath, letting out some soft golden brilliance. The 4 wings on his back were then lightly flapped, absorbing the tiny amounts of light essence in the air. It wasn't that this black and red world was totally devoid of light element. Another light elemental mage of a night would perhaps encounter difficulties to be replenished here, but he was after all a god's chosen one. Although he couldn't possibly borrow force from that goddess of light here, his absorption and senses over elemental essence was still extra powerful. Make your battle preparations. No matter what kind of enemy we face, we have to protect the cavern well till Haoyue evolves. In his line of sight, peculiar living creatures appeared. At glance, they looked like humans, formed of 4 limbs, a body and a head. However, their gait was totally different from humans. Their both feet kept jiggling, while their hands were stretched in front of their bodies. At each leap, they advanced at least of 5 or 10 meters, heading here at flying speed. At first, there were only a few of them, but as time passed, more and more of these appeared in Long Houchen and Yating's lines of sight. Zombies. These are zombies. Yating lost her voice in alarm. Long Houchen asked in astonishment, what are zombies? Is it a type of undead? Yating nodded to him. It is a kind of exceptionally strong undead. In rank, they cannot compare with licks, but they are a lot more powerful than skeletons, and are a form of dead humans. Their physical body was corroded by the energy of death, but didn't rot, and their soul became infected with death. In just a little bit of time, more than 1,000 zombies already appeared in their line of sight. Master, things are not turning well. These zombies are at least at the strength of the 3rd step of human warriors, and their body is their best weapon. Only at the 3rd step. Yating's face froze slightly. Master, creatures like zombies' strength doesn't lie in their individual strength, but in their latent capabilities. It is extremely difficult for skeletons to evolve, unless a powerful lick or overlick helps them in their evolution. But through continuous slaughter and devouring, zombies can evolve by themselves. The 1,000+ zombies of this group can't possibly be all at the 3rd step. It is very possibly a group of mixed levels. There are also ranks of zombies. And they can evolve. Hearing that, Long Houchen couldn't help but gasp, immediately losing his optimism. Yating nodded to him. If I am not mistaken, these transformed corpses are ranked in strength from lower to higher, starting from ordinary zombies, spectral zombies, metallic zombies. Then, there are different kinds of metallic zombies, whose ability to evolve is the strongest. Their destructive power is also extremely terrifying, and the most powerful kind, the Zombie King, even has the ability of flight. Just as she reached this point, she suddenly found out that Long Houchen's gaze was fixed. Hurriedly following his look, she happened to see an immense zombie heading towards them in flight at an astounding speed, while the zombies under his path let out mysteriously a layer of green color, accelerating their advance suddenly. Zombie King. So there is actually a Zombie King among them. Yating's face immediately became pale, letting out a shriek. A Zombie King. There's actually a Zombie King among them. Contrary to expectations, Long Houchen stayed calm at this time. Yating, how powerful are Zombie Kings? Yating seemed at a loss, as she replied, I don't know, but I heard that the Zombie Kings are in the undead worlds the weakest kind of undead kings. However, even if they were even weaker, they are still powerful entities. I'm afraid that this one is at least at the 8th step, or perhaps has he already reached the 9th step. Magic. Hearing her, Long Houchen couldn't help but let out a gasp, his eyes shrinking violently. However, his grasp over bright discipline became especially steady. He said before that no matter how powerful the enemy would be, he would do everything to protect Haoyue and let him smoothly evolve. Yating didn't speak further, but started to chant an incantation. Her voice was extremely clear, as if affected by Long Houchen's determination, as the fears filling her disappeared. In the air, the Zombie King came as fast as he could. In the blink of an eye, he was already halfway up the mountain. Seeing Long Houchen with 4 wings spreading on his back, his flight forward abruptly stopped, and his eyes were directed on Long Houchen with a puzzled look. A human. Light user human. How can there still be humans existing here? That Zombie King's voice sounded clear, and the imposing aura of death from him was earth-shattering. Just like liches brought a boost in the strength of skeletons, the existence of this Zombie King increased the strength of those other zombies underneath. The Zombie King calmly looked at Long Houchen. Get out of the way, human. What is in this cave? I got news from my subordinates, and it seems that they discovered something very dangerous here. I need to have a look inside. Long Houchen was actually a bit startled. It seemed that the Zombie King didn't know that Haoyue was there. Silently, he shook his head. My comrade is resting here. Please don't disturb him. I need you to leave from here. The Zombie King gave a terrible glare, suddenly thinking about something. Could it be him? Saying that, the sharp feeling he let out went up, and immediately next, a darkness purple-colored crystal came out from his mouth. Following, that dark purple crystal violently shivered, letting a purple glitter spread from within. The Zombie King murmured a few words, and immediately next, that dark purple crystal suddenly spinned, instantly pointing towards the location of the cavern behind Long Houchen's back. Oh my god. It's really him. The face of the Zombie King couldn't show any change, and this was a characteristic of zombies. But at this moment, the green fog surrounding his body became unstable, and with a flash of his body, he absolutely didn't tell Long Houchen anything more, simply throwing himself at his direction. At the time the Zombie King spat out that purple crystal, Long Houchen already had a bad premonition. Having made good battle preparations long before, facing the charging Zombie King, he just drew a slight step back, letting out a flash of golden light in his eyes, as an intense golden red flame instantly burst out from his body. It was precisely sunlight fire, which was instantly unleashed. The red-hot sunlight fire rose to the sky, as a dragon cry could be heard. Long Houchen held bright discipline in his hand, directly using ascending dragon strike against the approaching Zombie King. Light restrained darkness and the sacred restrained death, so Long Houchen held complete advantage in the elementary aspect. When that golden red sunfire light came into contact with the Zombie King, the dark fog surrounding the Zombie King was immediately reduced to vapor. The Zombie King didn't have a weapon in his hand, but his hands were incredibly long, the green nails of his fingers all reaching a length of 1/3 of a meter, aimed at scratching Long Houchen. A resonant bang sounded in the air, and Long Houchen clashed with the rushing Zombie King. A violent explosion created a violent golden expanse of light, and Long Houchen immediately felt an unsurpassed terrifying power smash against him. At the crucial time emerged the shocking skills he obtained from training in the Tower of Eternity. His body was fell back 15 centimeters, and during that time, his other hand launched the Holy Shield ability from the glorious Holy Shield. In spite of that, Long Houchen's body was still forcibly smashed to the ground, violently striking against it. A massive impact force digged a deep hole to the place under Long Houchen's feet. But in fact, this was right on a rock. However, that zombie king also seemed not to be much better off. However, this time was Lightthorn added with ripples of light, which split a group of a dozen zombies in a blow. But terrifyingly, although these zombies had their bodies cut, their cut parts still crawled on the ground, aiming towards Long Houchen. With hurry, Yating shouted to him, their weak point is in their head. You cannot kill them by any other means. Okay. Long Houchen gave a simple reply, once again wielding bright discipline in his hand. This time, Demon Wiping Flash was used, aiming accurately at the heads of the zombies one after another, destroying their flame of soul. The defensive strength of the zombies was beyond compare with the skeletons. The area of their head was tough, so Yating's light arrows were even more effective than Long Houchen's Demon Wiping Flash, because she chose to aim for the eyes of the zombies. But after Long Houchen started to act, he immediately sensed the huge threat coming from the Zombie King, and thus didn't dare put all his attention in handling these ordinary zombies. This prevented him from devoting himself wholeheartedly to handle them. Occasionally, his Demon Wiping Flash turned out unable to pierce through their head, and he needed a supplementary attack. However, these zombies were also unable to wound Long Houchen in any way. The spell Yating used on Long Houchen was called Sun Halo, and was a powerful light spell of the 6th step combining both attack and defense in one, and gained from the addition of the originally powerful light attributes of Long Houchen and Yating. All zombies that approached it within a certain range from Long Houchen immediately received burns from the Sun Halo, quickly reducing their body to ashes. But at every burns inflicted on each zombies, the Sun Halo also lost in light elemental intensity. The zombies were growing even further in quantity, and now emerged the powerful zombies that Yating mentioned before. Spectral zombies were a fast kind of zombies launching mental attacks. The hateful aspect of these zombies was that, with the superiority of their intelligence compared to the other zombies, they actually didn't take the initiative to attack Long Houchen and Yating, but attempted instead to get into the cavern. This restricted Long Houchen's moves greatly, causing him to be unable to move away in the slightest from the entrance of the cavern. Furthermore, these spectral zombies came like the wind, and because Long Houchen couldn't move from the cave, his Demon Wiping Flash missed sometimes, not hitting the spectral zombies. The spectral zombies aside, metallic zombies became the main force faced by Long Houchen's group. These kind of zombies had distinct looks. Among their ranks were metallic grey iron zombies, bronze-colored bronze zombies, silver-colored silver zombies, and finally, the most dreaded gold zombies. The reason why gold zombies are so terrible is their ability to use some undead spells. These undead spells weren't weak, and were above all used at long range, while Long Houchen didn't have the possibility to rush out to get rid of them. Iron zombies were at least at the 4th step in strength, bronze zombies reached the 5th step, silver zombie were close-quarters fighters, at the 6th step, and gold zombies long-range fighters, at the 6th step. However, although these zombies were powerful, Long Houchen could still resist them for the time being. The most annoying kind was a type of entirely red-purple zombie, with a big belly. Only 2 of these zombies appeared, but these 2 almost managed to break through the joint defense of Yating and him. This kind of zombies were slow in speed, and couldn't directly participate in attacks, but were actually directly thrown at Long Houchen's group by the gold zombies. When Long Houchen's attack reached the first of these red-purple zombies, it instantly exploded, smashing a large area of red-purple liquid everywhere. The Sun Halo on Long Houchen was actually totally dissolved by the purple-red liquid, and losing its protection, Long Houchen was immediately surrounded by zombies, left without any other choice but to use condemning revolving swords to compel back the zombies. And the time the second of these red-purple zombies was thrown over, Yating didn't make it at time to avoid it, and drops of this red-purple liquid were splashed on her. Immediately screaming in pain, her body lit up in light, and her presence started to grow dimmer. She actually took quite great damage from that. However, gold and silver zombies were low in count, at least until now, only 4 of each type appeared. Even so, Long Houchen also started to grow more and more exhausted. If he didn't have to protect Haoyue, and if the Zombie King wasn't here to lead the zombies from afar, Long Houchen had confidence that he would have been able to kill these 8 powerful zombies. But what's the point to think this way? Assault, charge and storing ability were abilities among the kind that Long Houchen was totally unable to put to use, and the ones he used the most were Divine Obstruction, Chained Obstruction, before chaining with extremely practical abilities with low consumption like Shield Assault or Lightthorn. But even so, his spiritual energy was being continuously depleted. Long Houchen even saw faintly that the Zombie King was approaching them, as if looking for an opportunity to deal the fatal blow. Letting out a snort, Long Houchen once again launched Demon Wiping Flash, but upon being inflicted this sort of attack, but those silver zombies were once again resourceful and pulled two of the ordinary zombies to block Long Houchen's attack, while the gold zombies used the fluids from other zombies to help them extinguish the fire, matching with a great level of coordination. Like this, although Long Houchen already killed quite a few zombies, the pressure was just growing greater and greater. At this time, Yating finally got rid of the poison of the explosive poison zombie, once again joining the battle. As soon as she joined, she completed the powerful chant, making now use the same spell Starfall as before to handle the army of zombies. Terrible starfalls hit from the skies, bombarding the enemies. Even with their tyrannical constitutions, the zombies were unable to stop the power of Starfall. The zombie king, that was preparing to mount a sneak attack, could only react defensively against Starfall, and temporarily had to give up on raiding Long Houchen. However, the few gold and silver zombies and even the bronze and iron zombies had similar defending method against this powerful spell, and this was the use of the bodies of their own allies. From the fall of the terrible starlight, at least 200 zombies died, but their true main force was still present, and Long Houchen happened to see 3 more explosive zombies approach their side. I cannot let this go on. If I let these 3 exploding poison zombies use their power, Yating and me will probably not be able to resist. At this point, Long Houchen finally used his final trump. An intense golden light abruptly shone on his chest, and immediately, 3 bolts of golden light were released from it. The zombies that were growing accustomed to Long Houchen's displays of power kept themselves away from him, for fear that a powerful attack was coming. Then 3 silhouettes became visible, rapidly blocking the way in front of Long Houchen. The 3 that were transported were Wang Yuanyuan, Lin Xin, and Han Yu. Boss, what's the situation? Lin Xin couldn't help but ask upon appearing. Long Houchen replied in low voice, the discussion will have to wait. For now, meet the enemy with everything you have. Saying that, he charged into the ranks of the zombies. The others who were just summoned here needed to adapt to the surrounding environment, and with them here, he could finally rush out offensively. After being suppressed for so long, Long Houchen burst out like a fierce tiger, an erupting volcano. In his hand, a good amount of spiritual energy was poured into bright discipline, directly letting this sword of glorious tear reach out with holy sword, bringing out the best of its power. As Long Houchen advanced lightly on the ground, the 4 wings on his back abruptly stretched out, and like an arrow, he shot out in the following instant. This next movement was indeed really fast. Borrowing strength from the impulse of his 4 wings, he reached a supreme level of speed and passed in the little space between the 2 silver zombies. 2 bolts of light were seen next appearing on the back of these silver zombies. It was Holy Sword, used in combination with Shining Sunlight Strike. Although the situation was unclear to them, seeing Long Houchen going to meet the enemies, Han Yu, Lin Xin and Wang Yuanyuan made good battle preparations. Han Yu and Wang Yuanyuan stayed to guard the cave, while Lin Xin was at Yating's side in the rear. In Wang Yuanyuan's hand, the Divine Soul Shield smashed out, sending several approaching zombies flying with a strident hissing sound. Afterwards the massive shield once again returned to her hand, and Wang Yuanyuan unleashed a space-splitting sortie next, aiming right at the silver zombie that was struck by Long Houchen right before. After suffering this blow, the severely wounded zombie couldn't persist for longer, and was sent flying to the other side of the mountain. Han Yu didn't stay idle either. Placing his shield of reflection right in front of himself, he spread out the spiritual wings and defended against all the zombies that approached, sending them flying with the recoil, perfectly assuming the role of a guardian knight. Seeing so many zombies afar, Lin Xin couldn't help but declare, wow, so many good things. Saying that, he was also on the move, and seeing Long Houchen dash in his path of return, he erected a fire wall behind him, stopping the pursuing zombies from harming him. Immediately afterwards, the fire curse carried by the fire cloud staff followed, aiming at a greatly wounded silver zombie. After the fusion between his 2 spiritual stoves, an enormous change appeared in Lin Xin's flames. Originally, they appeared scarlet red colored, but now his flames were colored in deep blue, causing the skull summoned by fire curse have a shade of deep blue color. That silver zombie being ignited by both the sacred holy fire and the flames produced by Lin Xin's heart of fire, was burnt on the inside and the outside at the same time, finally transforming into ashes. The 7 members from the 21st General Grade Demon Hunt Squad had ample battle experience together, matching with a perfect coordination with each other. Even if they still needed to adapt, because of having reached the 6th step, their coordinating was exquisite in this sudden battle. Long Houchen returned next to Han Yu, who took the initiative to stride forward, temporarily becoming the greatest defensive force of the group to leave Long Houchen some time to take a breather. Meanwhile, seeing his subordinates being killed in such succession, the zombie king was finally unable to hold back, and fiercely charged towards the opponent. However, he learned his lesson this time, and didn't charge bare-handed at them. On his left hand was an iron zombie, while he grabbed on his right hand an exploding poison zombie. Lin Xin, destroy that red-purple zombie in his right hand. Long Houchen shouted loudly, before extending the 4 wings on his back. A golden light shone simultaneously on his back, coming from Brilliant World, assistance from Yating. A dense spiritual energy of light element rapidly made its way into Long Houchen's body, helping him recover. Meanwhile, a white glow was shot out from Yating's chest, aiming right on the Zombie King with the power of the Saint Spiritual Stove. However, the Saint Spiritual Stove Yating was putting in use was linking the enemy to Long Houchen. In other words, Long Houchen would be the one aimed by the target of the Saint Spiritual Stove. Of course, it would be more accurate to say that the Saint Spiritual Stove didn't exist anymore, but that it was Yating's ability of attraction. Look at me getting rid of it. Lin Xin shouted in excitement, before a surge of power scattered behind Long Houchen, Han Yu and Wang Yuan's back. The 3 of them suddenly felt waves spreading from behind, as a scorching feeling seemed to cause their blood to boil up. Immediately, a resonant phoenix shot up, in the shape of an azure-colored brilliance sweeping past their head from above, and directly clashing against that Zombie King. What's that? Long Houchen, Han Yu and Wang Yuan's minds became blank. A blue phoenix of fire carrying 3 long tail feather on his back left a succession of waves of fire in the sky, before almost instantly reaching the front of the Zombie King. Next, the Zombie King let out a blood-curdling screech, and was actually forcibly stopped. The exploding poison zombie on his right hand instantly ruptured, but the purple-red poison wasn't given the time to disperse, and turned into gas under the effects of the high temperature. In the other hand, the iron zombie was directly melted against all expectations. Just what terrifying temperature did it reach to accomplish that? The iron zombie's toughness was after all something Long Houchen experienced personally. After being struck by the blue phoenix of flames, the Zombie King immediately became dark green colored, continuously letting out a dense dark green vapor from his body, as he resisted the corrosion of the blue flames. However, right at that time, that blue fire phoenix flapped his wings in full force, letting a ring of blue flames spread forward. When the extremely large quantity of zombies that had reached the mountain just before were enveloped inside, their movement suddenly stopped, and they melted and turned into liquid, before turning into gas and dissolving in the air. A resonant phoenix cry resounded once again everywhere, and he once again made a turn in the air. With a violent bursting sound, it sent back the Zombie King flying, and then, spiraling in the air, the phoenix flew back to the direction of Long Houchen's group. Seeing the Zombie King in such a miserable state, the expressions on Long Houchen's group of 3 looked totally different, and Wang Yuan couldn't help but shout, "What did you just do? Has drugs, bro?" But it shocked them to discover that the phoenix of fire seemed to have lost all his temperature, and after it passed above their head, they could see when turning back that it directly entered in Lin Xin's chest, disappearing inside. Spiritual Stove. The 3 of them cried out in chorus. The ability to merge into the chest of a human was unique to spiritual stoves, but they absolutely didn't expect that such a terrible and powerful ability would actually come from Lin Xin's spiritual stove. Without a doubt, that blue phoenix of fire came from the fusion of his 2 spiritual stoves. Even with all his knowledge regarding spiritual stoves, Long Houchen didn't know that at the time of fusion of 2 spiritual stoves, different degree of level of pact existed. The greater the level of pact was, the easier the fusion, and the more power in the end of the fusion would produce in result. But it was also from these levels of pact that the dangerous aspect of the fusion between spiritual stoves came. If 2 spiritual stoves are of equal power, the level of pact would reach 0, and no matter how powerful the user is, he wouldn't possibly be able to succeed in fusing these 2, leading in self-destruction. Only 2 kinds of fusion existed, one was by alliance, and the other by inhibition. The way Lin Xin and Han Yu's spiritual stoves fused could be categorized as a fusion by agreement, while Long Houchen and Kia's fused by inhibition. Long Houchen's light elemental fairy was the one to inhibit the Saint spiritual stove, whereas Kia's case was obvious without need to say anything. However, the one who ended the most successful this time was actually Lin Xin. It was for the simple reason that he had a far too great luck to have obtained the spiritual stove of Phoenix of Fire right after getting the spiritual stove of Heart of Flames, producing such a fantastic evolution. From these was born his current spiritual stove, Flaming Phoenix, known as Phoenix of Heart of Flames. The power of this spiritual stove was witnessed personally by Long Houchen's group, and its burst power was actually enough to match a powerhouse of the 8th step, the Zombie King, leaving him helpless to handle it, and causing him to suffer great losses. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.